Drag Race UK vs. the World Season 3 may be over, but I'm not over it. Today I'm going to be putting my grubby little hands on a rejudging and show you all how I would have judged the season, from distributing wins to assigning the bottom 2 as well as who would go home. I will not be trying to figure out all the Chippy T relationship dynamics, because that's not what I'm interested in figuring out today. I will in fact be determining the lip sync winners. Additionally, because the prize is a piece of metal for each challenge win, I'm going to be letting loose a little bit in how I distribute wins. There may be some double wins. Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jer, unless you have a gift receipt. All right, let's lock in. I started with a black cherry soda, and I now have a plain cola with me. Nut. Week 1 is Revision Song Contest, where no one goes home. Rejoicify, chat. I agreed ultimately with Fontana and Godlin's original top 2 placements. I think it set up early that this season wasn't just a sham for a UK queen to win yet another versus the world. And I think they really needed to step away from crowning a UK queen so that they could get renewed for another one. Although I do have to say, Kate was killing it from day one. Where I diverged from Rue was with the win. Both Fontana and Godlin were amazing, but I felt like Godlin captured a certain essence of that song that was undeniable and made me understand early that she was here to play the game. So I would give the lip sync win to Godlin. And for anyone that cares, my other top placements were Mariah, Kate, and Naomi. Moving to week 2, where someone will in fact go home this week, the queens have to swap archival costumes from their original season, tear them apart, and make a new outfit. They also have to present a Rue-demption look. I already said my piece about this week in my review as well as a short, but I'll repeat it. Zahira was highway robbed this week. Both her looks for Redemption as well as her sewn look were top tier for me, definitely deserving the win for me. I think her presentation of both of those looks, as well as how well made and well looking her Serena remix was, that solidified that win. I loved Godlin's interpretation of Fontana's look, considering that she had mostly mesh to work with. She managed to create something really interesting and full, so that's another high placement for me. Fontana knocked me out with her presentation, and I loved how she retained a lot of Kate's original look while still making it her own. So she is also in the top. My bottoms are a bit controversial, and I already know that people are gonna start their keyboard warrioring, but just know, I don't care. My safe bottom placement goes to Kate. I really hated both of her looks. Neither were particularly elevated, and her design skills were choppy, even if it was well sewn. And for a design challenge, the design and the styling is what is going to send you to the top of the bottom. For me, I said for me. My bottom 2 are Minty First, who had an amazing showing for her Redemption look. But her design look had no strong style, it had no point of view, and it lacked a lot of what I expected from Minty, which is a strong fashion eye. Well, I think that depends if you—
No. That wasn't a question.
And I expect Minty to be fashion, and when you show such a solid first look and then don't deliver on your second one, it makes me question where your taste level even is if you cannot replicate with your own hands and manifest a vision that meets what your package is. There are fashion queens who are unable to make good on their package being really solid and strong, and they can't deliver that glam when it comes to making it themselves. My other bottom 2 will literally make your mouth drop. It's Mariah. I really did not care for her Redemption look. It did not give me the fantasy I wanted to see. I don't think it showed a clear sense of elevation. I also don't know if this was a look that needed to be redone so severely. I think there were others she could have done. And I found her recycle of Melinda's bridesmaid dress to be bulky, a little bit unflattering. There were a lot of raw edges that I didn't care for, and it lacked refinement for me. I know that there was a lot of smoke for Naomi not making a new bodice for that look and just keeping what Minty already had. There are some inherent sewing shortcuts that took, but I said it before and I'll say it again, the material she was given was covered in these small rhinestones. Anyone that has ever worked with pre-stoned fabric knows that you have to sit with tweezers and remove every single piece of bling before you can even consider running it through a machine, unless you choose to hot glue it. but that fabric looks like it frays easily and would be unruly to cut up, and to try and hot glue into something else would be a disaster. So aside from taking a literal entire day to remove stones just so that she could sew through it and not destroy every needle in that workroom, and potentially not even be able to make anything with it after all of that work, Naomi's only other choice was to scrap the animal print or retain it as it was, and I think she utilized her time well. In this challenge, for me, it's a design challenge, not a construction skill challenge. That does factor in, but that's not the key point. If it was, there would be other queens who would have won their design challenges because it was about the sewing level, not necessarily what they presented. Naomi's look was solid, even if it was a big shortcut, but I also hold a lot of space for the fact that that was an unruly source material she was given, and you can't just cut that. It's the centerpiece of that look, but you quite literally cannot puncture a rhinestone with a needle, and it would be such a choppy mess if she tried to do anything with that without taking each one of those off. Also, Naomi's redemption look took my breath away. I'm sure that someone will bring up Melinda. I think her room mix was pretty simple, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I truly believe that she was in the bottom this week to solidify this storyline that Rue set up, that she was difficult on her season and didn't listen to the judges' critiques, which I think is kind of bogus. I think they wanted to present her as an unruly contestant and knock her out before she got into maybe challenges that she would undeniably own that would go against the narrative they wanted for her. So I think that's why they placed her in the bottom. She's safe this week because I liked both of her looks well enough. She gets a pass from me, and I would not eliminate her or even put her in bottom 2. Mariah and Minty lip sync. I think that Minty ultimately goes home first. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think that Minty should have been swapped for Arizona Brandy. I think Arizona is someone who doesn't take herself too seriously. She can commit to the kind of stupid thing that Drag Race requires you to do when you're in front of RuPaul. I think the challenges in Slation Royale were not so focused on humor and on performing. They were more about presentation and looks, and I think Minty would have gone a lot further in the competition had she been in front of Pal. I think that Arizona would have swept through this competition. This would have been the challenge that would have kept her low, but I think that she would have stayed through because of her charisma. Anyways, I'm squirreling. Episode 3 is the Miss Snatch Game pageant. Argue with the Wall. This was such a fun concept for Snatch Game. I love the pageant style of it. I just wish that Rue was a better improv partner because she purposefully is dense with queens she doesn't like, and that bothers me. Starting with my tops, I love Sminty so much this week. Her big bad wolf, even if it was a made-up character, was totally fleshed out and had a unique and well thought out backstory. I don't like made-up characters in the Snatch Game, but this worked for me because it was that good. I enjoyed her commitment to the character because I wasn't sure if Sminty would be able to work out something so outside of her normal aesthetic, and being able to commit to that bit was very impressive to me. I know Melinda would kill this challenge, and since she's still here, she would absolutely place high. However, my winner is controversially Mariah. Beyond the simple fact that she did one of my favorite divas ever, Jackie Harry, I believe that Mariah was super funny. She nailed the look and presence of Jackie. The voice was perfection. She volleyed well in each portion of the pageant. And then on the runway, I adored her cape look. It was like a sexy paratrooper. And is it so hard to find a sexy, curvaceous paratrooper? It's not. So Mariah takes that win for me, and I know this was originally Godlin's. I like that she was a part of the Cardi B multiverse, along with the 5 other queens who also have done Cardi. She's arguably the best of all the prior ones, but she was just playing Godlin in my opinion, so that's why she remains safe. My bottom 3 starts with Zahira. I personally didn't care much for her Jessica Alves, and I was confused by the constant voice changing and how she never stayed in one place with that for too long. However, her cape look was sublime. I am still obsessed with this maestro look that is beyond gender. So because of her runway, she is safe as girl. My bottom 2 are Fontana and Serena. I enjoyed what they wanted to be in the pageant, but they both missed the mark, I think. And even though I'm obsessed with Fontana's Sailor Moon look, it's not quite enough to push her into a safe position over Zahira. She will send home Serena this week. In episode 4, Girl Groups from Outer Space, I've got to speak my truth that I have a major problem with splitting teams up to judge them individually. If you all worked as a team and needed to be cohesive as a team, then you need to be judged as a team in high or low positions. Fontana, Kate, Naomi, and probably Melinda in place of Serena are here in the top. Since they all did well in the challenge, and I know that Melinda would do well here, it really comes down to runway for me, where I preferred Fontana's You're a Star Baby look more than I liked Kate's look. Fontana's is dreamy, it's elegant, it's extravagant, and Kate's is fun and it's camp, but I have a couple construction problems with it and where it sits on her body. I don't really like the length, and I think the fountain effect is just a little bit awkward. And the bottom team would be Godlin, Zahira, Sminty, and Mariah. I think Godlin and Zahira were the standouts of their group, while Sminty clearly struggled extremely hard, and Mariah's performance was crunchy. It was wild to me that they praised Mariah for having a crunchy split but thought it was funny, but then called Serena's cartwheel a shartwheel? The double standards. And considering runway into my scoring, Mariah looked like a golden girl in a metallic evening gown with gladiator armor. Like the prompt was not Golden Girls 3000. In Space Electric Boogaloo. And I understand Sminty's Pete Burns inspired look, but the headpiece was giving me Shadow the Hedgehog, and I thought some parts of it were a little bit ill-fitting for the theme. The two of them are in the bottom, and I want to go on a limb here and say that I think Sminty would be much less likely to be in a sour mood if she was placed in the bottom two via the judges rather than not being saved by someone she thought she could trust. The slight she felt from Kate is what I think dampened her spirit. So maybe she would fight a little bit harder to stay this week and actually commit the lyrics to her memory. Ultimately, I think Sminty was bringing a bit more TV personality to the competition that I would want to see for another week, so I would keep her over Mariah. I'm a huge fan of Mariah Balenciaga. I think that she should have gone a lot further in the All Stars 5 competition, but I don't want to string her along like a jujube so that she can get a late game win and prove, oh look, you stepped up your game after a lot of weeks being low and in the bottom. To me, that's not really fair to the other contestants if they are bringing a lot, and even though Mariah has a win in this universe, I think Sminty has been consistently doing really good. So it's tough. Ultimately, I do want to see a little more of Sminty though. Then for episode 5 Silent Movie Acting Challenge, this is where I feel those double wins needed to start getting doled out. Kate obliterated this challenge, and I actually enjoyed her Thanos gender swapped runway, so she's getting the first win. The second win goes to the only Naomi, who in my opinion had such a strong storyline behind her of needing that win, and since she was doing quite well week to week, it was ultimately time to give her that win. Plus her Joker runway was so absolutely incredible. It deserves high marks. I love her color choices, specifically on the wig to make that a bit of a softer green. The inclusion of the leather on those legs is an incredible drag detail that I want to recognize. The bottoms are a bit hard to choose because I think this week everyone did great in the challenge as well as on the runway. If this was truly my judgment, I would have saved everybody and just had a celebratory top 2 lip sync, and the following week done a Slajon Royale style lip sync Lalaparuza. And so because this is my rejudging, let's do that. There are no bottoms this week, only tops. Kate and Naomi lip sync to Mother Crazy Frog. And they're both gonna get wins. It's my show. Week 6 is a made-up lip sync challenge where the winner gets to choose someone to save from the bottom 3. The bottom 2 will lip sync and someone will go home. I think the strongest lip syncer from this group is Godland, and the weakest is likely Sminty, who would ultimately go home this week at the hands of Naomi, since I think Godlin would probably save Zahira from bottom 3. So that means Godlin gets the lip sync Lalaparuza win. And maybe the lucky cow since they don't have the golden balut. Episode 7 is the Fringe Festival, where I would give out another double win to Kate and Fontana because they needed each other to succeed in the challenge, and neither could have done as well without the other. I think Kate would have been the strongest in the night with literally anyone in this room, but it would be like putting Utica in a design challenge against Lala Reed. The pairings would be so unbalanced because Kate would be significantly funnier than everyone. And since Fontana has struggled in the improv department, this would be a great star rise moment for her to prove that she can do it with the right tools and the right amount of time, that she's got the sauce. And I think that Fontana amplified Kate's humor, and because I want to judge this in teams, since Melinda is here instead of Mariah, I do wonder if that would change the dynamic at all. Melinda is a bit wild, but is an incredibly focused performer, and I think she would be able to hold her own against Hurricane Godland. So the two of them would likely be safe, since I think they would both be funny together. And with Naomi and Zahira being paired up, that means that they would lip sync, since I want to judge them in teams. I think this is where where Zahira might get the chop because I think Naomi was really hungry to get to that finale. I love Zahira so much this season. I'm glad that she got to have a win in this universe before her cut. Moving into the makeovers, this could be where Melinda meets her final challenge because I just don't see her being able to stamp her brand onto a partner and keep them looking ferocious. Without Mariah here to win, this is where Fontana scoops up yet another win, locking her into the finale. I had a major problem with Kate and Godlin's makeovers, but I think when this day ends, my problems are a bit greater with Kate's aesthetic choices because it wasn't complimentary to what her makeover partner really needed, and it didn't nail the goal of the challenge, which is transformation in my opinion. Godlin's partner looked unrecognizable in his mug, even if there were a lot of scale problems that I had. So Godlin would be safe and I would put Kate in the bottom. I think if Melinda wasn't here and it was either Mariah or Zahira instead, Godlin would be lip syncing against Kate and send her home. But I do think Melinda would struggle here and land in bottom too. The song choice is a bit difficult because it seems like a song that Melinda would thrive in, and I think Kate was fine in that number, but Naomi, in my opinion, was a bit more compelling than her originally for me. With 2 wins under her belt and no bottom placements, it would be a big gag if Kate went home here. And since I don't need to follow the theme of UK versus the world, I could eliminate the UK queen before the finale and really prove this is not a setup for another UK queen to win. Remove all shadow of a doubt that just a UK queen is going to make it to the very end, as everybody expected. That would be a gag, and I'm gonna pull that trigger. And I'm sure there's gonna be some stupid comment, blah, 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 just say you hate Kate. Why would I lie so that some random commenter can feel good about their brain density? I don't hate Kate. If I hated her, I wouldn't have given her wins. I would have eliminated her week 2. Naomi, I wouldn't even put in the bottom because I don't think she deserved it the first time around, but I think they did not want to have any risk of Kate going home before the finale, so they didn't put Godlin there, who probably should have been the one sending home Kate. But I think that Melinda would struggle here more than Godlin did. So going into the finale, we have Godlin, Fontana, the only Naomi, and Melinda Verga. Let's just for fun say that it lands on Fontana, because I think that she would choose Naomi to lip sync against. That would be a really great tie-off to their storyline, since her and Naomi had that little kerfuffle earlier in the season about how Naomi didn't care about going to the finale. There was tension between them, and having that resolve and end after the reunion where they talked about it a bit more, I think would have been a good resolve to this story and would have given Fontana a little more wind and weight in that final lip sync. I'm gonna choose to believe that Naomi would not do as well. And then Godlin would be paired up with Mother Melinda. The two of them would spill blood on this battlefield, but Godlin ultimately comes out on top, leaving that final lip sync what it always should have been, Godlin versus Fontana, starting and end capping the season, both of them lip syncing together. And since this is my drag race, I'm gonna change the lip sync song to A Second to Midnight because I actually think that's a better Kylie Minogue song than what they chose. And imagining this, I'm getting my entire life. Both of them deserve a crown badly. Godlin represents an entire group of people who are often ignored on a global level, paid dust. And Fontana has faced so many hardships in her life, but has always had drag to keep her motivated to inspire others who are also struggling in the same way. They both have so much to offer to the global stage that this is quite literally an impossible decision to make. If I had it my way, they would both have crowns on their heads, and I see no reason why I shouldn't do that. Godlin implied that she was certain that it was going to be a double win. There was a long pause in the edit, and she thought it's gonna be a double. They're gonna crown both of us. And so pursuing that logic that maybe a double was even considered or toyed with in the post-production room, I'm gonna say that it's a tie, baby. And with that, that has been my rejudging of Drag Race UK versus the World Season 3. Please share your scorecards with me in the comments below. Feel free to check out the Patreon or my membership option here on YouTube. Keep an eye out for other videos coming up in the future that I'm very excited about. I'll see y'all on the flip.